In this example, we've got our mean of 0.3 per day, and the probability we're asked to find is in a 7-day week. It says, what's the probability that the computer will crash more than 4 times? Okay, so again, this is how we would translate that. What's the probability that x is greater than 4? And one thing we're going to have to deal with is this mean is 0.3 times per day, but the probability they're asking for is per week. We're going to use the same formula that we've been using. And let's deal with the lambda situation first. So it says lambda is equal to 0.3 per day, but the probability they're asking us about is per week. Okay, so 0.3 per day can be written as a fraction, 0.3 per 1 day equals something per 7 days. 1 times 7 gives me 7, so I'm needing to multiply in the numerator by that same 7, and that's how I get 2.1. And this is the lambda that we are going to use in the problem. Now, the other thing that we have to deal with is this situation when x is greater than some number. So try to think about how these are our x values starting at 0 and going out to we don't even know how far, okay? But all of them starting with 5 are x greater than 4. Okay, so 5 is greater than 4, 6 is greater than 4, etc., etc. And that means that the other part of these probabilities is for x less than or equal to 4. So if we added all these probabilities together, we would get 1. That is why we can say here, when we're trying to find the probability that x is greater than 4, instead of actually doing this, we're going to do 1 minus the probability that x is equal to or less than 4. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. We're going to find for 1 minus the probability that x is 0 plus the probability that x is 1 plus the probability that x is 2 plus etc., etc. For all these x values that are equal to 4 or less than 4. And after we calculate all that, we're going to do 1 minus all of that. Okay, so down here is where I was doing the calculations for p, the probability that x equals 0. I'm just using the formula. It's e to the power of negative lambda, this lambda, times lambda to the power of x. Here's your x value. And the denominator is x factorial. Now this one is simple because any number to the power of 0 is equal to 1, and also 0 factorial is equal to 1. So all we're needing is to calculate this and get a number. When we get to the probability of x equals to 1, and we fill out for the formula, this time we'll calculate this and multiply it by just 2.1, because 2.1 to the power of 1 is 2.1, and 1 factorial is still just 1. So just multiply these two together and get a number. Finally, when you get down here to 2, 3, and 4, then we're just calculating these, having to divide by a number, and then finally, you're going to add together all of these that you just calculated and get a number. And then we're going to bring that back to our original formula, where we're going to say 1 minus that number. That number is what I got when I added all these together. I just didn't write out every single digit down here, but this is what I got. And then don't forget, we need to do 1 minus that number, not that number minus 1. 1 minus the number. And that gives you a different number that you're going to round to 4 decimal places.